Easter is a holiday beloved by millions. Children love hunting eggs. Candy devotees enjoy unlimited sugar with zero judgment. And bunny believers hold magic in their hearts in hope that the Easter bunny will soon arrive. But few would guess that the pastel-colored holiday was obsessed over by one of the most drama-powered emperors in history. Easter has a special place in my three hearts. As a 40-million-year-old bunnyman, humans have always lumped me in with the holiday mascot, of course. I should, however, set the record straight. I am not the Easter Bunny. Sorry, bunny believers, there hasn't been an Easter Bunny for about 95 years, and I ain't the replacement. Nor is that bunny at the community center egg hunt. That's just some dude in a suit. I'm neither a human in a suit nor the head of the holiday, but I am an evolutionary leftover who has achieved apparent immortality. The ancient pre-human bunny adjacent civilization I originally belonged to is long gone. That's not surprising given the time frame. My birth was in the same temporal neighborhood as the mole people and the reptilians. Now, if you've seen my other videos, this is the part where you're expecting me to run down the history of the Easter holiday. Oh, and I could give you the usual Easter lecture, pagan spring party, Jewish holiday adjacency, and the Christian commemoration of JC's worst weekend ever. But honestly, the weird side connections to Easter are way more fun. Without further ado, let me tell you the story of how history got it wrong, and a Frenchman with a height complex let Easter rule his life, and it led him to rule a large swath of Europe in the 19th century. Napoleon Bonaparte was born in 1769 in Corsica, a place that couldn't decide if it was Italian, French, or just tired. Baby Nabulio, as his mom called him, had no idea he'd grow up to be France's emperor, mostly because he was a baby, and also because it felt unlikely as he didn't even speak French until age 9. Humans seem to love appointing leaders who barely fit the job description. Russia's German, Germany's Austrian, and America's kid from Queens with a spray tan. You get it. Napoleon lived a pretty normal childhood for the time. The only thing that a psychiatrist would find interesting was the trauma he formed around Easter. Back when he was a kid, Easter wasn't bunnies and brunch, it was hooded figures, spooky processions, all with anonymous terror vibes. After one particular creepy encounter during the week-long Easter celebration, Napoleon developed a deep, subconscious hatred of the holiday, and it would both haunt and define him for the rest of his life. Fast forward, he's 9, finally speaking French and off to military school, apparently already having that dog in him. A quick military training and career montage later, we find ourselves in 1799, where Napoleon is leading invasions into Egypt, studying hieroglyphics with a squad of scientists, and annoying the British, classic hobbies for a Frenchman. His military campaign in Egypt goes okay-ish? I was there. He tried, but with so much sand, what could he really do? The important part about his Egypt era is it's where Easter came back to terrorize him, or at least he thought it did. One night, Napoleon settled down and was reading through the daily military mail when he stumbles across a military-coded news bulletin that grabs his attention. It claims French troops lost a battle because they heard Easter bells and panicked. History remembers this event as the Battle of Feldkirch. Napoleon, already Easter fragile, was furious, and that night something in him broke. Thing is, his personal freakout was unnecessary. The story regarding bells in Feldkirch wasn't true. The bell-related battle wasn't on Easter, so any bells couldn't have been Easter bells. And as far as the evidence shows, the loss was just regular human incompetence, not bell-related drama. But By the time the rumor reached Napoleon, it had passed through a dozen different retellings, mutated into a full-blown Easter conspiracy, including shifting the timeline of events to Easter instead of early March, which all served in triggering Nabulio's latent hatred of the bunny-related holiday. How could they lose? The general cried. How could France tremble far and wide at a jolly old bell meant for Easter Day? How could the great French army give way? Then Napoleon huffed with a stomp and a glare. This won't happen again, I solemnly swear, for France needs a leader, steadfast and grand, a bold, steady voice to take charge of this land. And with that declaration, sharp as a beam, he whispered, "A leader? Perhaps one like me?" Historians will tell you, Napoleon joined the coup of 18 Brumaire because he feared political chaos, royal comebacks, and general French nonsense. Cute theory, but it's not accurate. I know, I was there, I heard the man muttering. This was about Easter, specifically his personal vendetta against a holiday he thought had wronged him long ago, and now via one badly mutated rumor. So he ditched his army in Egypt, turning a technical failure into a "please stop writing about this failure." He snuck home to France. The French public, for reasons still unclear, adored him, despite the Egyptian failure, and promptly yeeted their government to make room for him, making him first consul. There's basically the French president, but without any real form of checks and balances over his power. Over Christmas, he wrote a constitution and then immediately invaded Italy. Because, why not? By 1802, he was also president of the Italian Republic, and Pope Pius VII basically stamped his "approved for rule in France" card. With Italy conquered, the Pope on board, and his fame skyrocketing, 3.6 million French citizens voted to end democracy and make Bonaparte consul for life. And with that power secured, Napoleon finally had everything he needed to pursue his true, secret ambition. Not conquering nations, not reshaping Europe, but taking revenge on Easter itself and dismantling its 8-day French pastel empire. For 8 whole days? This Easter parade? This octave of nonsense? I want it unmade! He looked through the window to the party below, the French celebrating with joyful bellows. I've had it with bunnies and bells in the air. I've had it with lilies. They're everywhere. He wagged a small finger, he puffed out his chest. I'll cut it to 1 day. That's simply the best. No week-long distractions, no hymns running wild, no more of this cheer that has France beguiled. For France must be focused, not dancing away. We'll trim down this Easter to 1 single day. No octave, no extras, no lingering cheer. We'll celebrate quickly, then back to the year. And the party continued as he thundered his say, declaring, from now on, it's 1 Easter day. For deep in his heart, though he'd never confess, he simply despised all this Eastertide mess. With his newfound power, Napoleon ended Easter's French week-long celebrations, and the holiday was reduced to a simple single day. But it wasn't enough for Napoleon. He would not stop until the April holiday was reduced to ashes. But even as consul for life, he did not have the power to make it so. The very short man had very big issues. But that's well known. Why do you think he was always hiding his hand in his coat? Dramatic flair? No, it was way weirder than that.
You have done well, Nabulio. You executed our plan against Easter flawlessly.
But how do I live with all the suffering I've caused? The lives I've lost?
Do not lose your nerve yet. There are still moves to be made.
There's more?
Did you think that my plan was to just maim a holiday? To squish a week of festive, colorful eggs and little bunny rabbits? You are so naive, Napoleon. There are still greater heights to be achieved, but you must have more power. You shall be Emperor.
Emperor? Emperor?
Yes.
In 1804, a series of events that were either the result of politics by the seat of someone's pants or the plotting of a sentient hand gremlin resulted in Napoleon being crowned emperor. The short version? Napoleon arrested a bunch of people over a supposed kidnapping plot. The trials were held together with duct tape and wishful thinking, and the Duke of Bourbon ended up very, very dead. Oops! Europe's monarchs were not amused. Napoleon's extremely overpaid lawyers decided the only way to calm the royal group chat was to make him an emperor too, so everyone could be mad on equal footing. The irony, of course, is that Napoleon's whole original coup was supposed to prevent a monarchy from returning. But hey, we all eventually become the bad guy we fear most. Or something to that effect. Batman said that, I think. Maybe it was a guy in a Batman t-shirt? Hard to say. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, Napoleon's ultimate vendetta against Easter was finally within reach. With absolute power in hand, he could squash the holiday like a stale chocolate egg. Easter seemed doomed. But Easter's slippery. It makes bunnies lay technicolor eggs, rolls giant stones from tombs, and somehow injects cream into chocolate without violating the laws of physics. When Easter gets cornered, it plots. And for Napoleon, those plots were numerous. Small, furry, and very numerous. By 1807, Napoleon had been emperor for a handful of years and it was going pretty well. He just negotiated treaties with Prussia and Russia, great for France, terrible for everyone else. And he wanted to celebrate. How? With the biggest rabbit hunt in history, obviously. His chief of staff, Berthier, ordered thousands of tame bunnies. Not rabbits, bunnies. The soft, adorable kind that children beg for and then immediately forget exist. Unfortunately for a rabbit hunt, bunnies and rabbits behave nothing alike. Also, unfortunately for Napoleon, no one accounted for the chaotic cosmic energy generated by bunny ears. As a bunnyman myself, I can tell you the physics are complicated. My ears. What about my ears? I have ears, don't I?
Local anesthetic has infiltrated the base of the appendage. Appropriate anesthesia confirmed. Making an incision at the base of the right appendage, separating the soft tissue.
My ears. Don't think my ears hit you.
Right appendage is mobilized. Retrieving the specimen.
As I was saying, bunny ears work the same for bunnymen and actual bunnies. They're basically psychic Wi-Fi antennas. The only difference is that bunnies' psychic powers are usually, let's call them dial-up. Barely enough bandwidth to send a single thought-like carrot. But if you gather, say, several thousand bunnies in one place, you suddenly have the equivalent of a furry, twitch-nosed supercomputer. Do you see where this is going? Napoleon's little bunny hunt did not go as planned. The moment they released the bunnies, their ears synced up like Bluetooth devices, forming a giant bunny hive mind. With all that collective bunny processing power, they made a unanimous decision. We are the hunters now. And they attacked. They surrounded Napoleon and started bouncing at him like he was a human pinball bumper. Not exactly lethal, but they're bunnies. Their entire offensive arsenal is boing! Overrun and humiliated, Napoleon and his entourage retreated. History politely records the incident as a quirky moment of unexpected bunny behavior. But my 3 bunnyman hearts know the truth. This wasn't just the hive mind at work. It was the spirit of Easter channeling its power through my tiny, fluffy, distant cousins several times removed. And honestly, I'd argue that this was the beginning of the end for Napoleon. Sure, doesn't look like a world-altering event on the surface, but just like a butterfly flapping its wings can eventually cause a hurricane, Napoleon's downfall began the moment he was swarmed by a tidal wave of bunnies. After that bunny-related defeat, and a series of terrible military losses, Napoleon was banished. Tried to return, was told absolutely not, collectively by Europe, and then banished again in 1850. Easter, it seemed, had won in the long run. Napoleon's main problem? He was so preoccupied with whether he could beat Easter, he never stopped to think if he should. Like I always say, Easter finds a way, even when confronted by the schemings of a French hand gremlin.
Nabulio, do not give in to despair.
Oh, shut up. You're only good for 2 things, and one of those is wiping my butt.
What? That's not cool, man. I made you emperor. You know what? I'm just gonna go.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you like that chaotic look at France's greatest leader and his secret Easter obsession, why don't you like and comment on this video? And don't forget to hit the subscribe and hit that bell icon. And you can't wait for my next video. Why don't you check out the time I explored Irish history? It's a bit depressing, but there's green beer. So there's that.